It's a haunted world after all. It's a haunted world after all. It's a haunted world after all. It's a haunted world. Hey, welcome back to another Bear with me, BearElliott, and Mickey. I'm going to put these guys to the side. And hi, everybody. So, I hope that you're enjoying this week of paranormal activity. So, I hinted at the beginning of this week that I was going to talk about one of my favorite haunted locations in the world. It just happens to be the happiest place in the world, too. That would be Walt Disney World down in Florida. I spent 7 years of my life down there, and boy, did I find out some interesting ghost stories that take place. In fact, I used to even do a unofficial tour for those guys that happen to come in to visit and everything, and they were like, oh, can we go on your ghost tour? And yeah, I'd take people around. So here's the haunted details about Walt Disney World. Let's start at Magic Kingdom, because that was the original park and the original ghost. Our first stop is going to be Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, this ghost story predates actually the opening of Walt Disney World and Magic Kingdom. It's even written into their opening and closing procedures at Walt Disney World's attraction, Pirates of the Caribbean, and that would be George. Who's George? Oh, well, next time that you happen to be down in Florida and you're riding on Pirates of the Caribbean, why don't you ask the cast members, how's George today? Let's see what their reaction is. So here's the story of George. George was one of the construction workers back in the 60s when they were building Walt Disney World. Well, poor George. Back in those days, OSHA really wasn't that big of a deal. George was working by himself welding at the very, very top of the fire burning scene, I guess you'd call it. I don't know what the official name of it is. But when you're on the ride, you'll know this little scene because the town's on fire. Well, George was up there welding, strangely enough. George lost his balance and fell. There was no safety net to catch George. George wasn't discovered until later that day. So by this point, well, there was nothing they could do for poor George. So George was so dedicated to his job that he decided to hang around. Now, this is where it gets interesting. People have actually seen George on video cameras and just this worker walking around. Even guests have reported that they've seen George hanging around Pirates of the Caribbean. Little creepy. Now, here's where it gets even more fun. George likes his attraction to be run a certain way. So in the morning, the cast members have to get on the loudspeaker and say, "Good morning, George." And they're guaranteed that during that day, their attraction won't break. George will make sure of it, because, he's a handyman. And in the evening, they have to say, "Good night, George." And George knows that he's off for the day. I don't know what you do in the afterlife. I guess it's a good place to hang around when you're dead. There's nothing wrong with hanging around Walt Disney World and Magic Kingdom. But let's say a new cast member kind of forgets to say good morning or good night to George. George does not like to be neglected. You're guaranteed that during that day, the attraction is going to go down. So if you happen to be at Magic Kingdom and they say that, sorry, the pirates have taken over the Pirates of the Caribbean, more likely somebody forgot to say good night or good morning to George. So there we have it at Pirates of the Caribbean. We're just going to hop, skip, and a jump right to the next attraction right close by over in Frontierland, Splash Mountain. Now, a lot of hauntings, you always hear that hauntings are, they're these ancient ghosts. Not so much. This particular haunting happened back in 2000. Yeah, not that long ago. So in November 5th of 2000, a man was on the attraction. Well, something went wrong, and he decided that he wanted to get off of the attraction. Not a good idea. He tried jumping off the attraction, and if you've ever been on Splash Mountain, it's a flume, so you're in like a log. He got out of the log and got off to the left-hand side, proceeded to get sick because he was a little tipsy. And then he thought, hey, the exit's on that side. I'm going to jump on the next log and be able to jump over to the exit. It didn't go well. So he kind of fell in front of the log. Not a good thing for poor guy. Well, let's just say he didn't have a happy ending. Here's where the haunting takes place. 1 year later, to the date and to the moment of this incident, the attraction went down. Complete power failure. No explanation was ever reached exactly why that happened. And since that point, cast members and guests have reported seeing a man up on the very top of Splash Mountain. Ooh. So, hey, it's a good place to hang out. I guess you're wet a lot in the afterlife. Ooh. So, next we're going to hop over to the Haunted Mansion. Now, funny enough, the Haunted Mansion actually isn't haunted. But here's the creepy thing about Haunted Mansion. It's the most popular location at Walt Disney World for people to scatter their ashes. Ugh. So here's the interesting thing about that particular attraction. They don't dust it. So that dust that you see, it might be Uncle Henry that has been left along the track. Oof. Kind of creepy. Out of all those ghosts, you would think that that would be the one location that would be haunted. Not so much. No one's ever reported any paranormal activities actually taking place at the Haunted Mansion. Our last stop at Magic Kingdom is actually going to be right in front of Cinderella's castle. There was a man back in the early 80s that loved his job so much. And you'll find that with a lot of cast members, that they love their job. Well, this particular horticulturist, he handles the plants. Well, they always wear tan, brown-ish kind of colors. Well, this particular horticulturist was out doing his job and he expired like any flower. Well, unfortunately, he decided to keep, fortunately, well, he keeps working. Not getting a paycheck, I bet. But in the morning, you'll see him walk around and inspect the area, making sure that the flowers and everything is in order before the actual park opens. Cast members have seen him all the time. And for a while there, they thought it was actually Walt Disney that would hang around. Walt's never been seen at Magic Kingdom or any of the theme parks, actually. At least to my knowledge, he hasn't hung out. But this little ghost, he's pretty helpful because horticulturists have reported that he's kind of like a guardian angel to them. He's been known to, if you drop something, your clippers will magically appear somewhere beside you. Or if you start to lose your balance off of your ladder, he's been there to give you a nice helping hand to keep you on the ladder. Pretty helpful ghost. Well, all the ghosts seem pretty helpful. I don't know what that says about Walt Disney World, that they love it so much that they stick around to the afterlife, but hey, there's worse places you can hang out. Our last location that we're going to go to is Epcot. Epcot has kind of an interesting haunting because these particular ghosts predate Epcot by a couple hundred years. If you've ever been to Epcot, the main showcase of it is a big globe. That's Spaceship Earth. Spaceship Earth has an attraction that wraps around inside and it takes you through kind of like the progress of technology. Well, ever since the park opened, we're talking ever since it opened, back in the 80s, 2 little kids have been seen playing around Epcot and the ball. Well, you're thinking, okay, there's tons of kids at Walt Disney World. Why would that be shocking? Well, these particular guests are of the paranormal type. They've been seen actually riding the attraction after the attraction has closed, and the attraction is still going, and they're watching the videotape to make sure that there's no one else on it, and they've seen a little boy and a little girl not really playing together, kind of playing separately, but their attire is very, I guess, pioneerish. They look like Little House on the Prairie kind of time. So they're not really sure where these particular kids came from. They must have resided on the land before the actual park was created. They just decided to hang around. Hey, it's a great place for kids, and there's a lot of energy that they can sap off of. And they play around, and you'll see them in the morning, and they've actually stopped the attraction to try to find these kids. They've never found them, because when that particular car came around, it was empty. So next time you're at Walt Disney World and you're looking for a hauntingly good time, don't just stop at the Haunted Mansion. You'll find ghosts all over the place. There have been ghost animals reported. There's been ghost leopards, or I guess it'd be panther because it's a Florida panther, not a leopard. And there's also been a ghost alligator. Interesting. So yeah, so that has been your haunted journey and vacation advisory from Bear down to Walt Disney World. So stick with me. We still have one more day left for this great paranormal experience. So until next time, have a hauntingly good time. Bye, Cublets!
I could go out in the darkness, see you calling my name. I hear you shouting, hear you calling, but it's not the same. Every word that you are throwing right into my back doesn't matter to me, cause I'm keeping my track. Let me go, let me go.